Hi, this is Sierra Soto,
And Ella Prescott?
and this is our climate change PSA. First off, what is climate change? Climate change is any long-term change in the statistics of weather over periods of time that range from decades to millions of years. Scientists believe that it is human activity that's driving the temperatures up. Ever since the Industrial Revolution began, huge amounts of carbon dioxide and other gases have been let into the air. This is due to fossil fuels being burned, like oil and coal, by factories, power plants, and cars. Those greenhouse gases trap heat near the Earth due to a process called the greenhouse effect. During the greenhouse effect, natural gases trap the energy and reflect it back, which warms the Earth up. But scientists now believe that the greenhouse effect is becoming more intense due to more fossil fuels being burned.
The Earth has been warming up. 1998 was the warmest year in recorded history, and 2005 coming in second. But samples from ice cores now show that greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide and methane, hit the highest levels in a long time. There's much evidence to prove climate change is real. It includes the Earth has become 1.2 to 1.4 F warmer in the last century. 10 out of the 13 years were the warmest in recorded history. Yes, climate change rises and changes per day. That's due to orbitational variation. 97% of climate scientists believe the warmer temperature isn't due to orbit variation. The rising ocean temps come ocean acidification, which is a direct effect from carbon dioxide in the atmosphere reacting to salt water. Since the 13th century, ocean acidification has increased by 30%, with more acidic ocean animals may not survive. Last century, sea levels have risen 6.7 inches. For the last decade, it's almost double. Since 1994, the Earth has lost 400 billion tons of glaciers. Arctic sea ice is melting. According to NASA, Arctic sea ice has declined about 10% in the last 30 years. As industrialized nations consume energy in developing countries and increase fossil fuel consumption, then the amount of greenhouse gases will rise in the air. With higher temperatures, it comes with effects on the planet. Some climate models predict a lot. With ice melting in the ocean, that means sea levels will rise. Rising sea levels could cause flood for coastal areas around the world. Weather patterns could also change. For example, hurricanes could be more often. Droughts will become more common in dry areas, and animals that can't adapt will die.
As Ella just said, weather conditions will change. These conditions cause coastal areas that could be wiped out, but the damage has already happened. As seen by the Louisiana flood maps, land loss has happened. A tidal surge has happened following Hurricane Katrina, and with hurricanes becoming more common, this is not the end of land loss. Scientists predict climate change will displace more than 180 million people by 2100, a crisis of climate migration the world isn't ready for. In Louisiana, those who can afford are already moving. South Louisiana is losing land at one of the fastest rates on the planet, but there's not much time when more goes around the globe. Climate gentrification that happens in anticipation of sea level rise is what's shown in places like Miami. People are moving away from the coast, a place where they once were comfortable in. Climate gentrification also happens in the aftermath of climate disaster. It is also seen where damaged homes are now being green built, but also have a higher value, which poor people can't afford. Droughts will happen more in dry areas, causing many risks. Temperature rises that leads to the risk of hydrological and agricultural droughts. And when the temperature changes even more, some animals might not be able to adapt to it, so species will die off. NASA has shown that before the Industrial Revolution, carbon dioxide in the air was around 275 parts per million. Now, after 2016, it's been over 400 parts per million. They state it's pretty sure that it's been due to the burning of fossil fuels. This is no joke. Temperatures are rising, and people are believing it's not real. Before long, our grandchildren won't have an inhabitable Earth. Our local beaches that we grew up going to won't be a thing. They'll be flooded. There's multiple things to reduce the spread of it and the speed of it. Fossil fuels, orbital effects, greenhouse effects, human activity, deforestation, and more are all part of the cause of climate change. Help the act and act now before it's too late.